They invited the fat girl from their class to their 10-year reunion to laugh at her. She arrived in a limousine. But at that moment, as the shiny white limousine slowly pulled up in front of the Riverside Country Club, no one knew who was inside. The driver, dressed in a black suit, got out, walked around the vehicle with measured steps, and opened the rear door. An awkward silence fell over the lawn where dozens of former students were chatting with champagne glasses in hand. Everyone turned around. And then she appeared. Impeccable afro hair framing a face sculpted by years of determination, a red dress that hugged every curve of a completely transformed body, high heels tapping on the ground like a silent declaration of war. Jasmine Carter, at 28, stepped onto that lawn like someone reclaiming stolen territory. The same people who had laughed at her a decade ago now choked on their expensive drinks, eyes wide, jaws dropped. And there, near the main entrance, was he, Khalid Al-Fayed. Black and white keffiyeh on his head, perfectly tailored Italian gray suit, watch worth more than most of the cars in the parking lot. At 30, heir to a Middle Eastern oil empire, he had been the worst of them all. The leader. The one who filmed. The one who posted. The one who laughed the loudest while Jasmine, then 18 and weighing 266 pounds, cried in the school bathroom. Khalid took 2 steps forward, an arrogant smile on his lips. Jasmine Carter? I can't believe it. You really came. His voice carried that tone. The same as 10 years ago. Cruel amusement disguised as surprise. We were so happy when you confirmed your attendance. I didn't think you'd have the courage. The people around them laughed nervously, waiting for the show Khalid had promised in the class WhatsApp groups. Jasmine stopped 3 meters away from him. She didn't look away. She didn't tremble. Khalid. Are you still wearing that awful amber perfume your father buys in bulk in Dubai? The sentence cut through the air like a sharp blade. His smile faltered for half a second. Just half. But she saw it. 10 years ago, Jasmine Carter was the biggest girl in the class of 2015 at Lincoln High School. Not just in physical size. She was the poorest, too. The daughter of a cleaning lady and a bus driver, she wore uniforms patched by her mother, 3-year-old sneakers, and a backpack with a broken zipper repaired with a paperclip. Her lunches came in a reused plastic margarine tub. A bologna sandwich, juice from a box. Khalid, who attended the school only because his father wanted him to understand the American people before taking over the family business, sat at the next table with his wealthy friends. They threw food at her. They took pictures. They posted them with cruel captions. Whale out of water. Kong with a wig. Needs 2 chairs. One day, Khalid created a fake Instagram page called Jasmine Eats Everything and posted montages of her with animal faces. The page had 300 followers in a week. Jasmine found out when she heard laughter in the hallway and saw cell phones pointed at her. That night, she cried until she threw up. Her mother, Diane, came into her room and held her hand. Baby, cruel people have empty lives. You're going to prove that you're worth more. But prove it to whom? Jasmine had one friend. Just one. Mrs. Chun, the immigrant librarian from Taiwan who let Jasmine stay in the library during lunch, pretending she needed help organizing books. You are strong, Mrs. Chun would say. Very strong. One day you'll see. Jasmine didn't believe it. She was just surviving. Graduation arrived. Khalid got a new car from his father, a black BMW convertible, and gave a speech about seizing opportunities, while Jasmine cleaned tables at the graduation dinner, extra work to help her mother pay the rent. And now, 10 years later, there she was. Transformed. Confident. Rich. The invitation to the reunion had arrived 3 months ago. Pretty envelope, letterhead, elegant handwriting. But Jasmine recognized the name of the organizer, Khalid Al-Fayed. He had returned to the United States after years in the Middle East, taking over part of his father's business in Chicago. The reunion was his idea. Jasmine almost threw the invitation in the trash. But then she read the last line, written by hand. It will be fun to see where everyone has ended up in life. Especially you, Jazz. Jazz. The nickname he used to mock her. Derived from Jazzy Cow, the dancing cow. At that moment, Jasmine made up her mind. She would go. Not to prove anything. Not to seek validation. But to close a cycle. To look Khalid Al-Fayed in the eye and show him that the girl he broke had rebuilt herself into something he could never buy, dignity forged in pain. What no one on that lawn knew was that Jasmine hadn't come alone. And what was about to happen in the next few hours wasn't just a reunion of former students. It was a settling of scores. If you want to find out how a girl who lost everything found the strength to win, subscribe to the channel to follow this story of overcoming adversity that will leave you speechless. 10 years ago, on the night after graduation, Jasmine was in the tiny room she shared with her younger sister, looking in the mirror. 120 kilos. 18 years old. Zero prospects. She had applied to 6 colleges with scholarships. All of them rejected her. Profile not compatible with our institution. A polite code for saying that the average grades of a poor girl were of no interest. Diane came in with an envelope. This arrived for you. It was the response to her last attempt. Local community college. Technical course in administration. Part-time. Jasmine could study at night and work during the day. She accepted. She had no choice. For the next 2 years, Jasmine worked double shifts at 3 different places. Snack bar in the morning, office cleaning in the afternoon, telemarketing at night. She studied at dawn, slept 4 hours, woke up, and repeated. Her body, forced by a brutal routine and cheap food she barely had time to eat, began to change. Not because of her diet. Because of exhaustion. She lost 33 pounds in the first year. But the real transformation wasn't physical. It was mental. Every no she received, every closed door, every rude customer, every boss who treated her like she was disposable, Jasmine swallowed and turned into fuel. Then came the encounter that changed everything. Jasmine was cleaning offices on the 12th floor of a commercial building in downtown Chicago. It was 11:30 p.m. on a Friday. She entered the office of the CEO, a woman named Margaret Osei, a 55-year-old Ghanaian businesswoman who owned a growing ethical cosmetics brand. Margaret was still there working. "Sorry, I'll come back later," Jasmine said. "No, come in. I'm just finishing up a report." Margaret looked at her. "You're studying, aren't you? I see books in your bag sometimes." Jasmine hesitated. Community college. Business administration. "And how many hours do you work here?" 6 hours, 5 nights a week." Margaret put her pen down on the desk. "Sit down." Jasmine sat down, confused. Margaret asked her about her life, her goals, her dreams. Jasmine, too tired to filter herself, told the truth. She talked about bullying, about poverty, about fighting alone. "I don't want pity," Jasmine said at the end. "I just want a chance." Margaret smiled. "I'm not offering pity. I'm offering a job. Administrative assistant. Decent salary. Business hours. Benefits. You learn the business, I'll teach you." Jasmine thought it was a trick. "Why?" "Because I was once you," Margaret replied simply. "I came from Ghana with nothing. I cleaned floors, washed dishes, slept on borrowed couches. Someone gave me a chance. Now I'm giving it." Jasmine started the following Monday. Margaret was not a kind boss. She was demanding, strict, impatient with mistakes. But she taught inventory management, negotiating with suppliers, digital marketing, financial analysis. Jasmine absorbed everything like a sponge. 3 years later, at 23, Jasmine was operations manager. She had her own apartment, a used but functional car, clothes that didn't come from a thrift store. She had lost another 40 pounds, not because of aesthetic pressure, but because she finally had money for real food and time to go to the gym at 6 a.m. before work. But the real revenge wasn't her body. It was competence. Margaret, diagnosed with cancer at 58, called Jasmine into her office. "I'm taking an indefinite leave of absence. Aggressive treatment. I need someone reliable to run this place." She pushed a folder across the desk. "You. Interim General Manager. Pay raise, performance bonus. Don't let me down." Jasmine didn't disappoint. Under her leadership, sales grew 40% in 18 months. She renegotiated contracts, cut waste, and launched a new line of products focused on black skin that exploded on social media. Margaret returned in remission and found a transformed company. "You have rare talent," she said. "Loyalty, intelligence, hunger. I'm going to make you a partner. 30% of the company. You deserve it. Jasmine, at 26, became co-owner of a business valued at $12 million. But something still hurt. A wound that money couldn't heal. The memories. The videos. The laughter. Khalid Al-Fayed. Jasmine tried not to think about him. But internet algorithms didn't forget. One day, while browsing LinkedIn, she saw his profile. Khalid Al-Fayed, VP of Development, Al-Fayed Energy Solutions. He had returned to the U.S. He lived in Chicago, the same city. And 3 months ago, the invitation arrived. Jasmine almost refused. But then Margaret, now her mentor and mother figure, said something. You're not going to prove anything to him. You're going to prove to yourself that he no longer has power over you. Jasmine hired a stylist, a personal trainer, and bought a designer dress. She rented a limousine. Not for ostentation. For symbolism. The poor girl who used to ride the bus would arrive like a queen. And there was more. Jasmine had discovered something about Khalid that he didn't know she knew. Something that would change everything. On the country club lawn, Khalid moved closer, a smile still on his lips. You've become different, Jazz. Who would have thought? From ugly duckling to almost swan. Almost. The word hung in the air like an insult wrapped in a compliment. Jasmine smiled slowly, the kind of smile that precedes a storm. Almost a swan? Interesting, Khalid. You've always had a knack for half-hearted compliments. She took a step forward, closing the distance between them. Tell me something. Does your father know that you lost $400,000 of his company's money in a fraudulent real estate investment last year? Khalid's smile froze. Around them, conversations stopped. People turned around. What are you talking about? His voice lost its playful tone. I'm talking, Jasmine continued calmly, taking her cell phone out of her Prada bag, about the Riverside Towers development that you approved without proper auditing. Contract signed with a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. Money transferred. Construction never started. Company disappeared. Khalid turned pale. You can't know that. But I do. Jasmine tapped the screen of her cell phone. Because Margaret Osei, my partner, sits on the Chicago Business Ethics Council. And when your name came across our desk in an investigation of suspicious practices, I asked to see the file. I figured it was you. The same last name isn't that common. She turned the screen toward him. Documents. Emails. Bank transfers. Everything was there. Your father still doesn't know because Al-Fayed Energy's lawyer managed to cover it up. He paid a quiet fine to the SEC. But the Ethics Council has copies of everything. And so do I. Khalid took a step back. You're not going to do anything with this. It would be defamation. Defamation. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. Khalid, do you know what defamation is? It's a lie. This is documented truth. Victoria Chun, a classmate who had always been neutral but never defended Jasmine, approached hesitantly. Jasmine? Is that really you? My God, you look amazing. Jasmine looked at her. Thanks, Victoria. Remember when Khalid made that Instagram page about me? You liked 17 posts. I counted. Victoria paled. I was a teenager, I didn't think. You were 18. An adult. But it's okay. I understand. It was easier to laugh along than to be next. Khalid tried to regain control. Okay, Jazz. You grew up. Congratulations. You got a job, lost weight, bought expensive clothes. Want applause? Want me to apologize for school pranks? We were kids. Kids. Jasmine's voice cut like a whip. You were 18, Khalid. I cried every day. My mother found me once with a knife in my hand, thinking about ending it all. You call that a joke? The silence that fell was absolute. 30 people stood still, holding glasses, not knowing where to look. Khalid opened his mouth, then closed it. I didn't know it was that serious. You never asked. You never cared. Jasmine put her phone away. But I didn't come here to destroy you, Khalid. I came to show you something. She waved, and a woman stepped out of the limousine still parked at the entrance. Margaret O'Say, dressed in gold, walking with an elegant but steady cane. Behind her, Diane Carter, Jasmine's mother, in a simple but dignified blue dress. And lastly, Mrs. Chun, the retired librarian, now 68, smiling with tears in her eyes. "These three women," Jasmine said, her voice breaking, "saved me when you tried to break me. My mother worked 2 shifts to give me an education. Mrs. Chun gave me refuge when I had no friends. Margaret gave me a chance when no one else would." She looked at Khalid. "You had everything for free. Money, opportunity, privilege. And yet you needed to humiliate those who had nothing. Do you know why? Because deep down you always knew you were empty." Khalid tried to speak, but Jasmine raised her hand. "I could expose you. I could send these documents to your father, to the media, to everyone here. But I won't. You know why? Because I don't need to destroy you to prove my worth. You've already done that yourself." She turned her back and started to walk away. Then she stopped and looked over her shoulder. "Oh, and just so you know, that Instagram page you created? Jasmine Eats Everything? I bought the domain. Now it's my cosmetics company's website. We donate 10% of the profits to anti-bullying programs in schools. Last year, we raised $200,000. Thanks for the inspiration." Khalid's face fell. Anger, shame, humiliation, all mixed together. He tried to say something, but Victoria interrupted him. "Khalid, did you really do that to her? You said it was just a meme." Other alumni began to whisper. Cell phones came out of pockets. Not to film Jasmine. To search. To check. The story was spreading. Margaret reached Jasmine, grabbed her arm. "Are you okay, baby?" Jasmine nodded. Diane hugged her daughter. "I'm so proud of you." Mrs. Chin just smiled, that smile that said, "I always knew." Jasmine looked back one last time. Khalid stood alone now, as people moved away from him. Victoria stared at him with disgust. A man Jasmine recognized as Khalid's cousin spoke furiously on the phone, probably to his father. The girl who had been broken had rebuilt herself. And the weapon she used was not revenge. It was truth. 2 years later, Jasmine sat in her office on the 23rd floor of a building in downtown Chicago, a panoramic view of Lake Michigan stretching out the window. The sign on the door read Jasmine Carter CEO, Osei and Carter Beauty. Margaret had retired 6 months ago, handing over complete control to her. The company was now worth $32 million. But money wasn't what made Jasmine smile when she woke up. It was the program she had created. From Hurt to Hope offered full scholarships, business mentoring, and psychological support to young victims of bullying who wanted to become entrepreneurs. In the last 18 months, 23 people had been supported. 17 businesses were still operating. Real stories. Lives rebuilt. That morning, her secretary announced a visitor. "There's a girl here. She doesn't have an appointment, but she said it's urgent. Her name is Aisha." Jasmine glanced at her watch. "Send her in." The door opened and a teenager of perhaps 16 entered, wearing a pink hijab, her eyes red from crying, her hands trembling. Jasmine recognized that look immediately. Terror. Shame. Despair. "Sit down," Jasmine said gently, pointing to the chair. "How can I help you?" Aisha sat on the edge of the chair, as if ready to flee. "I saw your interview on CNN. About bullying. About how you survived." Her voice was a whisper. "I don't know if I can survive." Jasmine stood up, walked around the desk, pulled up a chair, and sat down next to her. Not in a position of power. In a position of equality. "Tell me," Jasmine said. Aisha told her. Private school in a wealthy suburb. The only Muslim in her class. Boys who pulled at her hijab. Girls who posted photos of her with terrorist filters. Teachers who pretended not to see. Parents who said, "It's just a phase, it will pass." A suicide attempt 3 months ago. Hospitalization. Therapy. Constant fear. Jasmine held her hand. "You were very brave to come here." "I'm not brave," Aisha cried. "I'm afraid all the time." Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of it. You're here. Asking for help. That's the bravest thing there is. Jasmine opened a drawer and took out a folder. I'm going to put you in our program. Specialized therapy, support group, scholarship when you graduate. And if you want, you can do an internship here. Learn the business. See that there is life after pain. Aisha looked up, incredulous. Why? You don't even know me. Because someone did that for me. And now I'm doing it for you. In the following months, Aisha blossomed. She went to therapy, met other survivors, and started designing a line of modern hijabs as a creative project. Jasmine hired her as a junior designer at 18. The broken girl was rebuilding herself. Jasmine also learned from sources that Khalid Al-Fayed had been removed from the family business. His father had finally found out about the financial scandal, not from Jasmine, but from an internal audit that Margaret had discreetly suggested to the ethics committee. Khalid now worked in a low-level administrative position at another company, far from important decisions. He lost his luxurious apartment, his imported car, his status. Victoria Chun, surprisingly, had sought out Jasmine 6 months after the meeting. She offered a genuine apology. No excuses, no, but I was young. Just, I did something horrible, and I'm sorry. Jasmine accepted. Not because Victoria deserved easy forgiveness, but because Jasmine had learned that carrying anger was a prison she built for herself. Margaret, retired but still a mentor, visited Jasmine one afternoon. They sat on the office terrace, hot tea between them. You've become everything I hoped for and more, Margaret said. Not just a businesswoman. A leader. Someone who lifts others up. Jasmine smiled. You taught me that success isn't how much you accumulate. It's how much you multiply in others. That weekend, Jasmine visited her mother in the new apartment she had bought for her, 2 bedrooms in a safe neighborhood, overlooking the park. Diane made dinner, the same bologna sandwich she had made years ago, but now with expensive ingredients because she could. They ate, laughing, remembering the hard times with gratitude for the journey, not bitterness for the suffering. Did you know I was going to make it? Jasmine asked. No, Diane replied honestly. I was afraid the world would break you. But I had hope. And hope was enough to keep you alive until you found your strength. At the office on Monday, Jasmine recorded a video for the company's channel. She told the whole story. The bullying, the pain, the struggle, the meeting, the confrontation. I didn't win because I got thin, she said to the camera. I won because I understood that my value never depended on the opinions of cruel people. It depended on who I chose to become on the days when I woke up without the strength to get up. The video had 2 million views in the first week. Thousands of comments from young people saying, I needed to hear that. Schools began inviting Jasmine to give talks. She accepted every invitation she could. A year later, Jasmine was invited to give the graduation speech at Lincoln High School, the same school where she had been humiliated. She accepted. She took the stage where 10 years ago she had cleaned tables. She looked out at the audience of teenagers, some bored, some curious, some with eyes that recognized pain. I'm not going to tell you that bullying makes you stronger, she began. It doesn't. It breaks you. But you can choose how you rebuild yourself. You can rebuild with anger and become what hurt you. Or you can rebuild with purpose and become the person you needed when you were broken. Applause erupted. Some students were crying. Teachers wiped their eyes. That night, alone in the apartment she could now afford, Jasmine opened a drawer and took out an old photo. She was 18, 260 pounds, wearing a patched uniform, a forced smile. She placed the photo next to the mirror. 2 versions of her. One broken. One rebuilt. Both valid. Both important. And she finally understood. Revenge wasn't arriving in a limousine. It was choosing every day not to become Khalid. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear that pain is not destiny. It's just a chapter. And you write the ending.